Hello, my name is Marvine Fulton, and I will be presenting the first half of this presentation. My collaborator, Niyati Solkante, will be presenting the second half. Our project is concerned with interpersonal alignment, or how people linguistically coordinate with one another to accomplish a task. There's substantial evidence that people fluidly adapt what they say and how they say it to meet shared goals. In some contexts, such as for rowing teams, alignment is important. In other contexts, such as for sailing teams, complementarity is important. The underlying processes that support such versatile coordination are still being explored. The broad question we are investigating asks if task goals influence interpersonal alignment. The general assumption based on the interactive alignment model is that increased alignment is beneficial for task performance. The model postulates that as conversational partners become more aligned in behaviors, such as in the words they use and how to articulate those words, they also converge in their mental representations, which is thought to increase mutual understanding and foster better task performance. There is evidence that this is largely the case in the spatial domain. In spatial domain tasks, speakers must closely monitor their partner's perspective as they describe map paths, object locations, and geometric shapes. However, recent work suggests that in other types of tasks, high levels of alignment can be detrimental to success. This has been found for tasks that rely more on foraging for information rather than on adopting a shared perspective. For example, when partners are jointly looking for some target or are searching two images to detect a difference, high levels of language use alignment are associated with worse performance. This suggests that in many complex problem-solving tasks, complementarity associated with a division of labor strategy could be more beneficial. In this project, we systematically manipulated task goals to examine their effect on interpersonal alignment by choosing a task that relies more on perspective monitoring, which we call route planning, and another task that could benefit from dividing the task search space, which we call visual search. We are looking at alignment in terms of joint attention by focusing on language use. Specifically, we are looking at landmark mentions, statements of agreement, and in proposed strategies to complete the task, which we call meta-comments. For our predictions, we expect that there will be more alignment in terms of landmark references and acceptances for route planning than visual search, since it is a spatial task that relies more on perspective monitoring. Our exploratory prediction is that meta-comment use may be different between the two task types. There is evidence that people in different tasks self-organize in aligned or complementary behaviors depending on the task, but we don't know the extent to which they explicitly agree on these behaviors or strategies. This project's stimuli was subway maps, which could be used for both route planning and visual search. Instructions for the route planning task involved planning the most efficient route in terms of the number of stops, from an origin point to a destination. For example, on the London map, we instructed pairs to count the intervening stops from Kingsbury to Embankment. Instructions for the visual search task involved searching for and counting stations that shared some feature. For example, on the London map, we instructed pairs to count the stations that contained the word green. Data was collected from 17 participant pairs before March last year, when collection was suspended. Each pair completed 10 maps, 5 maps in the route planning condition, and 5 maps in the visual search condition. These maps were normed for difficulty in a separate study and split into 2 lists of comparable difficulty, and within each block the difficulty of the maps increased. Pairs did a practice round for both route planning and visual search, and then they completed a planning block followed by a search block or vice versa. Task type was counterbalanced across pairs, and the map list was counterbalanced across pairs as well.
Hi everyone, my name is Niyati Solkante and I will be talking first about transcription and coding. In order to turn our experiment into usable data, we had to transcribe and then code the audio recordings of the partners' conversations during the task. We transcribed the dialogues of both partners with a new turn occurring every time a new person spoke. We did not count any conversations with the experimenter. To code the transcripts, we counted the number of instances of landmarks on the maps, acceptances that indicated agreement like yeah or okay, and meta comments that indicated strategy planning for every turn by each partner. Then we were able to run our analyses. So now we return to our original question asking whether linguistic alignment depends on task goals. We found that there was more total mentions of landmarks in the planning task compared to in the visual search task. You can see this visually represented in the graph to the right of the slide, where the median amount of total landmark mentions is much higher for the planning task than the visual search task. This makes sense since we expected route planning to require more monitoring of the imagined navigator. We also found that landmark mentions of one partner, partner B in particular, predicted the landmark use of the other partner, suggesting alignment in the use of landmark reference. This was in line with our predictions about route planning, but we also found the same effect for visual search, because this effect occurred regardless of the task type. For acceptances, the task type did not predict the number of acceptances in the dialogue. The number of acceptances of partner B did not predict those of partner A either, like they did for the landmarks. This was contrary to our prediction since we expected more acceptances, which would indicate grounding or establishing mutual understanding for the route planning task. Finally, for meta comments, for which our predictions were exploratory, we found similar results as the acceptances, since task type was not a predictor of meta comments and the use of meta comments by partner B did not predict the use of meta comments by partner A. So what does all of this mean? Overall, we can see that task type influences specific types of language use, like the greater mentions of landmarks in the planning task compared to a visual search task. Despite our predictions, we found that alignment across partners for landmark use did not actually depend on the type of task presented to the pairs. Furthermore, other signs of alignment, including acceptances, which indicated mutual understanding, and meta comments, which indicated strategy planning for the task, did not differ across various tasks. From this, we determined that a basic level of alignment is necessary for all tasks to be completed successfully. Additionally, these results could mean that although language use and alignment are similar across tasks, other behaviors of partners could differ in things like joint attention or eye movements, and this leads us into our future explorations. Our results showed us that we should explore the relationship between language use, which includes things like landmarks, acceptances, and so on, with task performance accuracy. We could also investigate the impact that spatial perspective, like the use of words such as up and down or cardinal directions and other such directional language terms, has on task goals. Other subjects of interest include referential strategies like referencing subway color lines to coordinate with partners in order to improve accuracy on task goals. We could also explore how counting stations and word mimicry between partners differs during alternative task goals and how that impacts success in the task. We plan to code and analyze data from the entire dataset, since the different maps vary in their amount of difficulty. So we will explore the rest of the dataset to determine if the results here generalize to the rest of the maps. We are extremely thankful to our mentor, Dr. Galati, her lab of undergraduate and graduate research assistants, as well as the university for providing funding for this project. Thank you for listening to our presentation. We hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to hearing your questions.